Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Village Board meeting, Tuesday, July 22nd. If we'll all stand, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa. Trustee DeVivo.
Present.
Trustee Janice. Trustee Sabo.
Present.
Trustee Suisse.
Present.
Trustee Yukich.
Present.
Mayor Davis.
Present. This would be D. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. I would like to add, under new business, we'd have to, or under old business, we'd have to do it, a discussion on Woodbine. Mr. Ludwig is in the audience, and I would like to ask a couple questions tonight.
Okay. Does anybody have a problem with that?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, we'll add the questions you have for Mr. Ludwig at old business. The purpose of moving the meeting from this week to the next meeting was that we had trustees, two of the 6 trustees were going to be missing. So that was the purpose of moving into the next meeting. But Trustee Yukich has a couple questions, so we'll get them answered. Okay, are there any other amendments to the agenda? All right. This would be E. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of May 13, 2014 meeting?
I so move.
That's first by Trustee Suisse,
Second.
second by Trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay, tonight, as many of you know, Bill Karn has been a very active member of our community since its inception. Bill's sitting right here in the front row. He has served as a commissioner on the Village's Plan Commission from 2001 through 2005, and from 2007 to 2009. As a Plan Commissioner, he was responsible for helping to create and carry out policies regarding the physical development of the Homer Glen community. For those of you who don't know him, this is a difficult job to do. A Plan Commissioner's decisions have a serious effect on the use and value of the land in this community. The job becomes even more difficult when you know the landowners, neighbors, or applicants personally. Bill diligently ensured that he treated each applicant properly in a fair and consistent manner. Bill did an excellent job in his position for 6 years and for the past and continued service to the residents of our community. I'd like to present him with a key to the Village of Homer Glen. Bill, if you join me up front here, we'll read your plaque. I can come to you, Bill. Okay.
Easier said than done.
All right. Key to the Village of Homer Glen, presented to Bill Karn, Plan Commissioner 2001 through 2005, and 2007 through 2009. This key to the Village of Homer Glen, the village's highest distinction, is presented to Bill Karn. The key is given to Bill Karn in recognition of his outstanding dedication and service to the residents of the Village of Homer Glen, Illinois. Presented on behalf of the residents of the Village of Homer Glen, this day, 22nd day of July, 2014, James P. Daly, Jr., Mayor. You want to say a couple words?
Huh?
You want to say a couple words?
No, I don't think so. I said everything I could possibly say since the beginning of this village. I think I was there when we started this great adventure. And I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you all.
This would be G. Is there a motion to approve the accounts payable for the period of June 26th through July 23rd, 2014?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Sluis?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. Excuse me. I'll start it out. Sales tax growth. The village has sales tax numbers going back to 2006, 2007. Over the past 7 years, the 1% sales tax growth has grown 14% from $2.4,532 in 06-07 to $2,753,965 in the years 13 and 14. The increase from 06 and 07 to 13-14 has been $341,433, representing $34 million additional dollars in retail sales in Homer Glen in 2013-2014 versus 2006-2007. Given the economic downturn and loss of some sales tax generators, this is amazing positive result. Also, since 2009-2010 to 2013-14, the 1% home rule sales tax has increased $893,396. In 2009-10, the 1% home rule tax was $1.4 million. The past 2013-14, the annual total was $2.38 million. What outstanding growth. Different subject under liquor compliance check. On July 15th, personnel from the Will County Sheriff's Office conducted a compliance check of 15 local establishments that sell alcoholic beverages. This detail was performed to check businesses regarding their compliance to the state laws and the village's liquor ordinance in selling alcohol to minors. A total of 14 businesses holding state and village liquor licenses successfully passed the compliance check. I'd like to congratulate the following 14 businesses for complying with the law. All 4 Speedway gas stations, 7-Eleven, Kenwood Liquors, both of the village Circle K Shell gas locations, Jewel Osco, Myers Gas Station, Home Wine and Liquor, Chili's, Chesden's Pizza, and Ruby Agava. While 14 businesses passed the liquor compliance check, 1 Homer Glen business did not. Pepe's Mexican Restaurant was found to not be in compliance since a waiter served alcohol to 2 minors. As the village liquor commissioner, I take this violation seriously and will be holding a hearing regarding this violation. On an update of the subdivision improvements in non-LOC subdivisions. As many of you know, the village has 9 subdivisions without letters of credit. As part of the 2014-2015 budget, the village board included $500,000 to be utilized for subdivision improvements in non-letter of credit subdivisions. Previously, the board approved the completion of road work in 4 of the village's non-LOC subdivisions. I'm happy to report the completion of the final roadway lift on unfinished roads in 3 of these subdivisions: Cypress Point, Glenview Walk, and Windsor Court. Erin Hills Unit 4D will be paved once the curb work is completed. These subdivisions were long overdue for this improvement, and residents of those subdivisions have expressed gratitude for this much-needed assistance. This past Saturday, the village celebrated the dedication of a new Erin Hills Park to our park system. The park is located in the Erin Hills subdivision at the intersection of South Dublin Drive and Erin Drive. The official groundbreaking occurred on July 23, 2013. The park is approximately 1.5 acres and includes playground equipment, a small picnic shelter, a 3-hole putting green, and an open play area. We were fortunate to have warm weather and plenty of sunshine as we welcomed the more than 80 attendees who stopped by to check out the park and its amenities, as well enjoy some lemonade and ice cream. I even hosted a game at the putting green for everybody to enjoy. I want to thank the Village's Park and Recreation Committee Chairperson, Marcia DeVivo, and the members of the committee for all their hard work in designing Erin Hills Park. Our village staff also worked hard to make sure that the dedication ceremony was a success. Thank you, Cameron Davis, John Robinson, Mike Salamowicz, Elena Bose, and Alec York for working behind the scenes to add the finishing touches for the dedication ceremony of Erin Hills Park. One name I forgot is also Gail. So that concludes the mayor's report. We'll start out with trustees' reports with Trustee Yukich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I'd like to congratulate you too, Bill. You taught me a lot, and I'll never forget it. It was a pleasure working with you on the Planning Commission.
Don't tell any stories, Joe.
I won't tell any stories, I promise. Other than that, that's my report right now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Sabo?
I'd also like to thank Bill Karn for working together, not only on the Plan Commission, but on other committees that he and I worked on the Stormwater Task Force, which was very important, and on the Green Vision of the Homer Glen community. Very dedicated, very thorough, and I would also like to thank his wife because she helped in many ways and is quite a supporter of you and of the committees that you worked with. Thank you. My report is a report from the Environment Committee, and the first is on the tree replacement program. The Environment Committee is continuing to work to establish a tree replacement program for trees that have been removed or will be removed in the Homer Glen parkways. There are many steps to consider in this program. Information will be brought to the Village Board in August for review. The goal is to begin the tree planting program this fall. Trustee Suisse and Trustee Sabo recently met with Manager Davis and Environment Committee Liaison Sue Stylen to discuss more details. Homer Glen Lands Day. The Environment Committee is seeking nominations for Community and Nature and Harmony Awards. Nomination forms are at the table at the entryway, and you may pick one up on the way, or two or three. You know people that meet the criteria. More information is on the Homer Glen website where applications can be downloaded. And we are seeking nominations for individuals, businesses, and organizations that have contributed to beautification, preservation, and restoration within the Homer Glen community. The deadline to submit applications is July 25th. And a number of people in this room admire work that other people have done. And so it would be nice if you would fill out an application and they would be recognized. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sabo. Trustee Suisse?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Homer Harvest Days Festival on September 6 and 7 will lead guests on a journey back in time as they visit the historical Tritina farm from the 1890s. Attendees will experience periods from early settlement times to the present. The classical folk ensemble Innisfree will be performing on Sunday. The Georgia Ray Family Band will perform both days. They are inspired by a mix of folk, bluegrass, and contemporary folk rock, described as newgrass. Georgia Ray, who is 15 years old, is the current Illinois Grand Champion fiddler. The sheep shearing exhibit will be returning along with Taylor's Battery B, the Civil War reenactors. There will be many other demonstrators and vendors as well. This year's menu will again feature an array of food items to be enjoyed along with the entertainment. Parking, admission, and activities are free to the public. Volunteers are needed. Please visit the website at homerharvestdays.com. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Suisse. Trustee DeVivo?
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to make a comment. Bill, you and I served on Plan Commission. We served on the Stormwater Committee, as Trustee Sabo said. And it was many, many days, many months, many hours of that committee. We went on and on. It was a long, long time that it took to write that stormwater ordinance. And this village owes you a great thanks for the help that you gave. This was a committee that, and I don't know how much work everybody puts into their committees between meetings, but that one, we were on the computer for hours between meetings trying to put this together. So I know how much work it was, emailing back and forth, trying to decide how the verbiage should go. It was quite honestly, it was fun, but I think we both enjoyed it. But thank you very much for what you've done for this community. I'd like to report a little bit about the dedication to Erin Hills Park. I want to say thanks to staff. Staff really did a bang-up job. You guys were unbelievable. You put this whole thing together for this dedication, but you also, Cam, you were out there planting plants, flowers up until the last minute, literally. So to make everything look perfect. Thank you very much for that. I also want to thank my committee. They really they put a lot of work into this, and it was well attended by the committee and well attended by the residents. I think that was just really phenomenal. The show of support for parks in this community is just overwhelming. And I know that you're telling us something. You're saying, come on, move forward. We need more of this. We need more of this for the kids in this community. So I want to thank you for that. And I can't really say enough good things about this park and how it turned out. It's not only the play equipment, but it's a wonderful mix of active and passive recreation. It has wetland ponds, it's walking paths, there's an overlook to the wetlands, making this play area for exercise and to just reflect. Again, I want to thank you all for taking part in this successful venture. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee DeVivo. Is there a treasurer's report, Cam?
There is, Mayor. Finance Director Sawyers is on vacation this week, celebrating his birthday, so we wish him well, and I'd be happy to give his report in his absence. This report is as of June 30th, 2014, and for the public's benefit, the treasurer usually goes through and lists off the various amounts in village funds. So as of June 30th, in the general fund, the village has $4.5 million. In the motor fuel tax fund, the village has $2.27 million at the end of June. In the park fund, the village has $2.4 million at the end of June 2014. In the debt service fund, the village has $431,608.18. And in the capital project funds, which is a group of funds, the village has at the end of June $22,353,146.85 for a grand total at the end of June 30th of $32,017,982.42. That's the end of the treasurer's report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Cam. Does the clerk have a report?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
How about the village attorney?
No report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
How about any task force chairpersons? All right. How about any public safety officials, Joe? Mike, you follow Joe.
Thank you. I just wanted to briefly update the board. Last week, we sent out over 230 notices from our non-compliant survey list regarding the recreational vehicle, construction, commercial vehicle parking and storage regulations. Yesterday and today, we received over 50 calls from residents with various questions and comments, most of which I responded to personally. I also reiterated during our conversations that they have until September 1st to come into compliance with the ordinance. Are there any questions, board?
Okay, thank you, Joe. Does anybody have a question for Joe? Thanks, Joe. Mike? This is the Highway Commissioner, Mike DeVivo.
Mayor, Trustees,
Bill Carn?
how you doing today? In the word branches,
Just a few.
June, on June 30th, we had a bit of a storm here that I was, I guess, fortunate enough to be out in the middle of. So I was aware of what it was. I know we don't have any weather equipment here that could measure the winds at this area, but my conservative guess is that we had an 80 mile an hour straight wind for 5 to 10 minutes. At least that's how it felt when I was out there. And this wasn't what they refer to as a microburst. This was a strong straight wind weather event. And Mother Nature did some pruning in our community, and she was very efficient. We've been picking up branches ever since. It took the first 3 days of that abbreviated week after the storm, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday was the 4th of July, just to open the arterial roads. from the trees that had fallen and working with ComEd and the trees that were in the wires and waiting for ComEd to get through. So the following weekend, all the roads were open, but we still had a lot of debris. We gave the residents 2 full weeks, 2 weekends, in order to get the branches out to the side of the road. And there are, I think, 23 working days in the month of July, and today was the first day. We're at about day 16 of July. Today is the first day in July that any of my crew did anything other than pick up branches. We're at about 300 loads. We have 2 chipper trucks out, and when the chipper trucks get full, we have to take that to a Homer tree. And we have some piles that are so big that we're actually picking up the branches with our clam backhoe and putting it in the trucks. So counting those truckloads of branches and the truckloads of chips, we're over 250 truckloads now, and we still have a couple of subdivisions to go through. Probably be at about 300 truckloads. The billing I have from Homer Tree right now on our desk, the billing that's come through, is $11,000 in dump fees. We have we have 3 trees that we have bids that are a total of about $4,000 that they have to go in and take down. That's too big for us. My guess is that as the road district, we'll experience somewhere between $20,000, maybe as much as $30,000 in just exterior costs, external costs of this. And I'm not internal costs that our labor and our fuel and the use of our equipment. Just the external cost on this will be well over $20,000. And when we take the labor we have here, this storm will cost us $50,000. In many instances of storms like this, we have a declaration of a disaster declaration by either a governor or the president. This was local, so it didn't happen. There are no FEMA funds available for this, so there'll be no disaster. So we're going to have to assume the burden of cost in-house. We should be done with the bulk of everything this week. We're really confident that's what it is. And then we can get on with the rest of the business of running the road district. I want to thank a lot of the residents for being patient. Some people have had branches in front of their house and piles of branches for a period of weeks. So I think that some people are getting a little upset with that, but for the most part, this community has really been in an understanding way. To the board, to give you an idea of what we're up against, I took both the village manager and the mayor out to a site where we had some branches being picked up in front of 4 houses. And the branches and the trees down that were brought out to the road were such that we literally had half the entire department dedicated to the branches in front of those 4 houses for 1 full day. So I just want you to understand that why it's taking so long. It's the worst storm I've seen as far as the results, and I've talked to my employees who have been there over 25 years, and they said it's the worst they've ever seen. But we're getting close to getting it cleaned up, and we should be okay by the end of the week, and we should be back into the business of taking care of the roads again. Does anybody have any questions?
No, Mike, I think you handled it well. One thing that was becoming very obvious as I went around the community, it wasn't only the storm that put branches out in front of the house, it was a lot of landscaping companies that didn't take their debris away. And that's not the purpose of this project, or this project. It's to clean the community up based upon the storm. So I would ask people to take that into consideration when we do have a storm, that this isn't spring cleaning at your house. It's intended to clean up after a storm. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, does the village manager have a report?
Very briefly, Mayor, just a couple quick items. First of all, I want to apologize to everybody. On the warmest day of the year, we have air conditioning challenges. The air conditioning on this side of the building is malfunctioning, and we'll get that worked on, but it just happened today. So, Real briefly about Erin Hills, I especially on a staff level, first of all, what a great turnout on Saturday. I know when the reporters come and go, they do a quick count, and one of the articles said there were 40 people. There were actually over 80 people there. There's 54 people if we count the dog, 54 people just in that picture, I think, and not everybody, some people were shy about getting in the photo. But it was a great turnout, and the park is beautiful. Over the course of my almost 30-year career, I've had opportunity to play a small role in developing about 20 different parks. And this one is absolutely one of the prettiest parks when the kids are able to swing on that swing set and look out at that beautiful nature area. So kudos to, on our staff level, Mike Salamovich, who did just yeoman's work on this park through the whole course, from the start to the finish, the whole time. And so, Mike, thank you very much for everything that you did on the park. All the little details, the little things that the contractor sometimes mixes that Mike had to step in and get finished. Also, there's other staff members like Aaron who helped out with things with the park, and John Robinson, who's done a lot of work in the park. He's not here tonight, but I know that he knows that I appreciate everything he's done there. So there's just a lot, in addition to the Park and Recreation Committee and Trustee DeVivo and everybody that really spent a lot of time planning and making sure the details are great. I really appreciate the staff members who stepped up and have really turned it in. I invite everybody who's here tonight to stop down and take a look at it. The neighborhood is certainly making use of it, but we're hoping that the whole community travels down to spend some time at the park. Also, real quick, I want to thank Mike DeVivo and his team. Mike said enough probably tonight, so I don't need to go into. I was going to talk a little bit about that one site that he took us to and how involved it was. But village staff has been partnering with Mike's staff at the Highway Department to help answer calls, obviously, to go out and visit sites, to give Mike feedback back about areas that maybe need this attention or that attention. But all the staff members on the days after the storm, we had like maybe four staff members answering phones, helping Mike's staff answering questions for the public. So it's a real teamwork, and we really appreciate everything that Mike's been doing. Just a real quick update on IDOT on 159th Street. IDOT did let us know this week that they are closing in on their intended fall letting. They intend to let the project in the fall. They've kind of committed to that being the deadline. They've so far in Homer Glen acquired 113 parcels. They finished those acquisitions. They still have 26 remaining acquisitions. That's basically from Homer Glen and unincorporated Homer Glen out to 355. So they have 26 more to do, which they intend to have completed by mid-September. They have actually already begun the process of letting some contracts for tree removal and things of that nature. So on the other side of the project, on the Orland side, they've finished the acquisition of 62 parcels, and they only have 6 more remaining to be acquired, which they anticipate being done again by mid-September. So there's a little update. My final thing that I want to do tonight is always fun to do. The board is familiar with this. For those of you in the audience, we have a staff award that I give out quarterly to a staff member. It's called the ABCD Award. It's above and beyond the call of duty. And not every quarter, it's not awarded every quarter. It's really seriously meant for things that are just truly, absolutely exceptional. But a lot of staff members have won it over the past 3 years since I've been here. This year is kind of special. Elena's in the audience. Elena, wave your hand in the back. You're all the way in the back. Wave your hand and then come back up. Come on up, come on up, come on up. So this is actually, Elena's received this before. This is going to be the 3rd time she's received it over 3 years. So she's obviously doing a lot of good work around here. Elena is a staff liaison to our festival committees. So for those of you who enjoyed the Homer Community Fest here just this past month, or other festivals that you attend, Elena is a staff member that does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. And she is actually, after many years of doing this, she's going to step back from doing it. We're going to have Sue Stylen, who's a new full-time employee that we have, kind of do it. So you can actually enjoy the fest next year and volunteer with whatever you like. And you won't have to be there 24/7. But so for all of her good work with the festivals over the years and all the above and beyond work, the hours and hours and hours of time, we're going to give Elena this quarter's ABCD award, which comes with a $50 gift certificate from me, and you'll have to tell me where you want that. You have to, in Homer Glen. Shop Homer Glen. Okay. Here you go. Congratulations. Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a picture. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, the next portion of this meeting then will be public comment. Okay, Maureen Poole, would you like to tell us a little bit about your request?
Yes, my name is Maureen Poole. I'm the Operations Manager at Will County Center for Community Concerns. We're the community action agency that serves low and moderate income households in all of Will County. We're here tonight asking for a donation from the Village of Homer Glen to support the programs and services that we do provide. I provided the mayor and the trustees with an informational packet in our last annual report that details out the types of services that have been utilized by residents of the village. And on the cover sheet, there's actually a comparison between the services and dollars expended just for village residents as opposed to township residents. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about our programs or what we do in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker would be Francis Field.
Excuse me, Tim, I hate to
It's okay.
interrupt your meeting, but I can't sit much longer.
But that's okay. Take your time, and congratulations, Bill.
How you doing? My name
Good,
is
Francis.
Francis Fields. I'd like to find out if there isn't a fee that we can pay to keep our boats parked in the driveways.
Could we, for the record, have your address?
12013 Winchester Road.
My understanding is that this was given to committee, the Public Safety Committee. This was their recommendation to enforce the ordinance. I don't believe there was ever any conversation about allowing the RVs and boats and everything to stay on driveways at some type of permit fee. Now, I don't sit on that committee. Maybe, George, you sit on that committee. You can address that?
We've never discussed it because if we do it for one boat, we have to do it for everything.
Well, you're making us put them in the storage someplace, and we got to pay them. Why can't we just pay a fee and keep them where they're at?
We're not looking for the money. What it is we've had a lot of the residents coming, we're not looking for money. We've
How
had
much is a
residents-
ticket going to be? You just don't even know that yet.
No, we're still in the process of getting some of this stuff written up. All we're trying to do right now is let you know what is happening. You've got to understand, we have mobile homes, we have motor homes, we have boats, trucks, cars, all kinds of RVs, and a lot of them, they're just, if you followed what the ordinance says, you can keep it. You get it out of the view of the public on the side of the house, and it's hidden behind either bushes or a fence, we don't have an issue with that.
Do I have to have it on a concrete slab if I put it on the side of the house?
It has to be on something solid, because if you put it in grass, the only thing it's gonna do is sink.
What about those paving blocks?
It's something we can discuss. I don't see an issue with it, but it's something we have to discuss, and we have a meeting in another couple of weeks. We're not trying to harm you by having to move it. I know sometimes the convenience is very nice, but the problem is they're unsightly. A
They're
lot of
not
people don't put-
unsightly if they're kept up. The
That's
majority of
true.
the boats that I've seen in the area are all brand new. Mine's an '06, and it looks like it was just bought yesterday. I mean, you're not being fair against me. I'm
Well-
disabled, and you're discriminating
I'm
against
not
me.
discriminating at anybody. I'm telling everyone that they either have to screen it or it would have to be moved. This is a group of people that work on a Public Service and Safety Committee. We're not discriminating against anyone. There's an ordinance. The ordinance has been in effect for a long time now.
And it took you this long to decide to enforce
You know
it.
what? We were trying to leave it alone, but we had so many people calling and complaining and
Okay,
saying
well-
that they're tired of looking at them.
Don't I
You
have
don't-
a right to know how many people are calling and complaining? That you're just telling us this?
Well, I wouldn't give you false information, but why don't you do this? Why don't you come to our next meeting? It's the first Wednesday of next month.
That's what I was going to recommend. You're asking if certain things can be considered pavers, if there could be some type of permit fee for certain types of vehicles. Why don't you attend their meeting and some of the people that have concerns about it? The Public Safety Committee brought forward a recommendation that the village board voted on to enforce the ordinance that existed. That's the way this works. Everybody has a vote. So I recommend you go to their Public Safety Committee meeting.
And that's when? Next month?
When is it,
It'll be
George?
the first Wednesday of next month. I'm not sure of the date. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but the first Wednesday of August.
All right, well
Okay.
then, you gave September 1st as the date that we have to have them covered or out of the yard. A lot of the other villages, it's the middle of November. Then they go into storage anyhow.
Why
I go,
don't you come to the meeting and we'll discuss it there?
yeah, I suggest you go to the meeting, put your
And that way you
ideas.
can talk to the whole committee.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Francis.
Mayor, that meeting's August 6th. Just-
August
August
6th.
6th,
And I believe is it 7 o'clock, trustee?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
August 6th, 7 o'clock. Okay, the next speaker would be John, is it Frone?
Yeah, John Fran.
Fran?
I live on Somerset Road. I've been there 35 years before Homer Glen was Homer Glen. And I park a 6 by 10-foot trailer. I keep my motorcycle in the summertime because I'm kind of garage poor. And I went to all of my neighbors. There's only 5 houses on my block, and I asked anybody, do they mind it being out there? And they says they don't even know it's there, you know. And that's the only way I can get around, you know. I mean, I don't have any more garage space. I take and park my travel trailer at the storage place. I pay for that. And now I'm 70 years old. I've lived here 35 years, and they tell me that now you can't park that on your driveway. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like, I could see if it was gaudy and it had ladders and weed trimmers and stuff hanging off of it, but I wash and I wax this thing. I'm very attentive to my being stuff there, you know, and I don't know, it just, now I see this meeting's gonna be, and I won't be around here for that, but that's the same thing I'm going by is too, is that, you know, it's only there in the summertime, so it's the only time you can ride the motorcycle, and that's basically my garage, you know, and then probably end of September and that, it gets cold. I put it in storage, take it by my son's house and put it in the garage, you know.
I think anybody that has a question about this, you said you can't make that meeting, but
Right.
that's not the only meeting. Ordinances over time get tweaked to fit circumstances. They get modified for, you know.
I did go to my neighbors and I asked each one to sign the paper. Do you mind if my trailer is there? And they said they don't even know it's there because it's all the way up on top. And I just paid $6,000 to have a piece of driveway made up there so I could keep it there. And then I get this thing, you know. And
Well, like I said, if you can't make the next public safety meeting, they have one every month. So I would attend it, make your opinion, you know, to the safety committee and see if they can't, you know, try to massage this ordinance a little better.
all right,
Okay?
thank you.
Yep.
Here's my business card. Take this and give me a call. If you can't make it to the meeting, I'll be more than
Now
happy.
it's my 50th anniversary and I'll be in Alaska.
All right, when do you leave?
I'm leaving the 6th of August.
Give me a call before that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next speaker would be Pat Cosmer.
Hi, I'm Pat Cosmer. I live in Pebble Creek subdivision. Before I get to my issue, I would really like to commend the village and whoever took care of getting rid of the dead ash trees in the parkway. Did an excellent job. They were removed in a timely manner. The stump was ground up, and then to my surprise, dirt put down and seed. Wonderful job, whoever coordinated that. Now to get to my issue. I live next to a house that's been foreclosed on. I have pictures here I'll give you after I'm done talking because I don't want to waste my 3 minutes running up there. The weeds are more than 3 feet tall. I've talked to John, the code officer, more than 3 times, been in the office once, and also sent an email via your website to try to get this issue resolved. The amount of mosquitoes that are coming out of here makes me unable to enjoy my property. And we do have a village code that says they should be no more than 8 inches tall. The problem I have in talking to John is someone in our neighborhood is cutting the front lawn because obviously they don't want it unsightly and all the more mosquitoes and weeds flying around. John asked me to please try and find out who was doing that and tell him if they're doing it, because whoever owns the property is sending someone around and they're seeing that the front lawn is cut and they're not looking in the back. With all due respect, I have a full-time job and it's not as an investigator to find out who's cutting the front lawn. What I'd like to see happen is that the code is enforced for this backyard and that this is taken care of. In addition to that, there are 3 dead ash trees on that property, one of which is very close to my property line and is hanging over part of my house and part of my deck. I've been picking up small branches over the past few weeks that are falling off of this tree. I'm very afraid that in a bad storm, this tree is going to come down and it's going to do damage. John has said to me that the village can't do anything about that. I got this offline. It's state law in Illinois affecting local codes and ordinances. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. State law changes in Illinois impact many provisions in the ordinance codes of Illinois counties, cities, and villages. This pamphlet is intended to assist the municipal attorneys in the identification of provisions in ordinance code that may require revisions in light of the law. And I'll give you this when I'm done. This is under nuisances, cities and villages, nuisance vegetation. The authority to obtain a lien for weed cutting has been expanded to include the authority to obtain a lien for grass cutting, the trimming of trees or bushes, and the removal of nuisance bushes and trees. And then it's citing some Illinois numbers and codes here.
We
says-
get it. We do this. Sometimes when a situation like yours exists where somebody's doing the front, minus somebody coming in like yourself who lives next door and says, what the heck's going on? We might not see it from the street.
Right, but I've talked to John.
We have had to maintain foreclosure sites. If the bank gets contacted and the bank does not take care of the property that's in that process, we will send a landscaper out there.
But that's my issue. I've talked to John 3 times, and I went into the office once, and I've written a letter, and he's telling me that there's nothing he can do.
Well,
Mayor, if I just
interrupt
interrupt for a minute, I gave John direction on Friday to have the backyard mowed.
Okay.
When I became aware of it through your email, so.
Oh, you saw my email?
Mhm,
Yeah.
So the backyard.
You know,
Okay,
I
so the
tried
backyard's
to
gonna-
get it done over the phone, but
sure.
I was getting that resistance. At one
No,
point, you know,
I
I said, well,
understand your concern about it. So it's been, it's gonna be put on the list. We're gonna have a company mow it, and we will lien the property. Okay, so, and if you have any other questions,
And the
you
trees
can call
also,
me.
are you gonna
Well,
trim-
I don't think we're gonna give the trees any attention, but I will talk to John a little bit more about that. What
Well-
we need to work with, if I could, and you can certainly call me at Village Hall if you wanna talk about it more. I think what we'll do is we'll work with the bank on the trees.
Okay,
We will
well-
take care of the
let me just
grass
read
below.
one more thing, because it pertains to the trees, and it's in here. It says, "The authority to obtain a lien for the removal of diseased trees has been expanded to include the authority to remove ash trees infected with emerald ash borer. These trees are deader than a doornail ash trees."
Right. We're gonna work with,
Well, yeah, we'll
the
take-
bank on
we'll
those.
take- We'll take a look at it. We get it. And the grass is gonna be cut, and I'll have Mike, you take a look at the property and see what goes
At
on.
one point, John said,
Okay, we need-
"Oh, the weeds are 6 feet tall," because I told him they were as tall
All
as
right,
the fence.
we get it. We get it. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. Okay, the next speaker, if he would like, is George Gatz.
Did you want to wait till you get to number 3?
Well, this is your turn to speak, George. This is public comment, so if you want to speak, if you have anything to address before we get there at legislation, you need to say it now.
I'll do that now, and then I can
Okay.
just remain silent.
If anybody has any questions at that point in time, we'll get you back up there.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
board members, staff. My name is George Gatzis, and I'm the owner of the Homer Glen Center Phase 1 and 2 in Homer Glen. What I'm here for today is to ask the board to grant one more extension for me. I know I've had a few extensions here with the board, but as you know, the economy is still what it is, and I've had a tough time getting financing. And more recently, as you know, I was in a partnership with the Greek Orthodox Church in order to get the sewer and water in on the property so I could start construction. I had two banks that were willing to go ahead and give me the financing on that, and one of the banks, Standard Bank, which is really wants to do it, and it's, I'm working with Terry Hackett. And the whole thing was when I received a letter from the board, I received it from staff that pretty soon I better get something substantially started because the time is coming up for the extension again. The year is up. But since our last meeting and the last time, as you know, Father Sam is not going to build the Greek Orthodox Church over there where I'm at, where the Homer Glen Center is, because we were sharing the sewer and water, and part of the expense was going to be with the church. And also, he was thinking after that, putting a school and a stadium there. But as you know, Will County is not going to grant him a waiver of that access for a road from 143rd onto his property. They want a turning lane. So that's going to cost the church too much money, and the church could not do it, so they backed out. Put me in a situation where I had to go back to the lenders and tell them the situation and stuff like that. And as you know, we came in for the second half to get more tenants and stuff, to get the, I had C2 zoning on roughly, you could say half of it, and then I got the C2 zoning recently from you to get the other building, because there's two buildings, the Homer Glen Center and the Homer Town Plaza. There's two separate, Phase 1 and Phase 2. So what we did was I got a hold of my engineer, I got a hold of Terry Hackett, I got a hold of everybody, the surveyors, which I use Rogina and Linden Group for the engineering, and I said we have to get something substantially done. The banks are not going to give me the financing if the sewer and water is going to go in now. They want the economy to do better. They want to make sure that I have, and I really had over 65% leases on the property and letters of intent, which was more, but the bank, you know, the tenants want a sure thing. They want to sure the building's going to go up before they actually sign a lease. So anyway, to make a long story short, what we did was I got them together. We had meetings, and I also met with staff just 3 weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, with our engineer. And of course, you know, I've been working on this thing since 2005, and I really need this extension because I'm so close to getting this financing and getting construction started. So what I wanted to do was try to put a 10,000 square foot building and add the second floor later and use well and septic instead of using sewer and water. Well, the engineer checked with Will County and checked with, well and septic is fine and all that, but when I met with Mr. Cameron and with staff, he said the footprints are kind of being changed a little bit here. You're not going to be able to just extend and then come in and just do the other building and do the second floor because it changes things. So that all went for naught. So I had the two banks, Old Kent Bank and Terry Hackett, but Terry Hackett was the guy who was going to do it. He said, well, if you get the Will County to okay it, and you're having a meeting with the board, let's get started. We'll start building. And of course, it didn't work out because we have to do a whole new landscape and stuff like that. And there's two Gatzis Lane lots that are on Gatzis Lane that are residential lots that my daughters want to build on. But I can't do it yet until we get that sewer and water in. So what basically I'm asking for is, you know, I want to get this building in. I really need it. My two sons graduated law school. They're taking the bar now. We need the building. You know, it's going to be owner occupied. I'm not going anywhere. I've been here since 1969. And I just need a little more time. And I don't know if I need the whole year, but I'm sure a little more time and I'll get something going on this thing. And at least get one of the buildings started, which is the Homer Town Plaza, which is on the west end, because it's a smaller building, and that's what the bank wants me to do.
Okay.
So
Thank you,
that's
George.
That's basically it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker would be John Coy.
I didn't make a whole bunch of pictures for everybody, so I have to pass them down. 2 weeks ago, I came in and asked to have this cleaned out. It wasn't cleaned out. The bottom picture shows you what happened because if it wasn't cleaned out. These are pictures I've been asking to have cleaned too. That's today's pictures. What's the name of the drive on the bottom there? Lady Bar Lane. It's the bottom ones, the ones that were taken today. But that's, like I say, the top picture is before, last week, it's before it rained. The bottom picture is after it rained. If the water can't get out of this area, with all the debris that's being built up in these box culverts, we have to figure out a way to do this properly where we can either have a crew that goes out there after a rain and takes a look. I'm not getting paid for this, but
We already addressed this, John. Mike, was it clean?
The ones on the bike trail were cleaned on Saturday.
Okay.
yeah, they're
All right.
like.
Now, you need to
No,
understand.
They weren't cleaned Saturday, they were cleaned yesterday.
Whether it was Saturday, yesterday, they're clean. What you need to understand, and I see this a lot because I manage properties, we had you just heard the highway commissioner say, this is probably the worst storm he's ever seen in his history. And you have people come up right behind it after we've done some great improvements in that area. The box culvert was a tremendous improvement. So yeah, we do need to check it. We do have to have something in place, but this is our first main storm that this thing has gotten clogged up to the point where it's basically unpassable. So
All right.
we're
And like
aware
I
of
said,
it.
Lady
We'll-
Bar now is still blocked.
Okay, Mike, check in the Lady Bar.
Yeah, this was the first we've heard of the Lady Bar one.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, the next speaker would be Brock Beckel. Beckel?
Good evening. Brock Backel. I live in Homer Glen, Woodbine subdivision in Homer Glen. This is in regards to the sport groups in Homer Glen. There was a meeting in March or April where Mike Costa asked for the registration numbers of the newly formed Friends of Homer Athletics, which is HAC, the Stallions, and the soccer group. They wanted to get an idea, Mike wanted to get an idea of the current numbers and what the past numbers were for years past. I'm just curious whether or not any of those numbers have been provided by Brian Crockey.
They haven't to me. I don't know if they've been given to staff. I didn't ask for them.
Okay.
No, we didn't ask for him either.
Okay.
We didn't
Mike,
ask
Mike
for
Costa asked for it. I was just curious if they were just going to pass on this or if they were actually going to give you the numbers. My question is this. When these numbers come in, if Brian decides to give you those numbers, it'd be interesting to see where these numbers compare to 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago, with all of the new talk about Woodbine subdivision and needing all of these sporting facilities there and fields. I'd be interested to see what these numbers look like so that we can get an idea of whether or not we even need new ball fields and an expansion into Woodbine. And the other interesting fact is when these numbers come in, it'd be interesting to see what the number of non-residents of Homer Glen that are now involved in the sporting groups, just to get an idea of the outside people who are now going to be using these facilities that Homer Glen residents are going to end up paying for in new taxes. So that's basically all I had to say.
Thank you. Most communities have a resident, non-resident fee that's paid. Phil Hartz would be the next speaker.
Mayor, I have my question answered.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Then that will conclude public comment. The next portion of this meeting is legislation and action items. This would be J1. Is there a motion to approve a one-time contribution of $1,000 to the Will County Center for Community Concerns, Programs and Services.
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich.
Second.
Second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion?
I have
Madam
a
Cl-
comment, Mayor.
Go right ahead.
No, I would just say because this organization does give a lot of direct support to the residents, I hope we could put this in our budget on a constant basis.
Okay. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Swayze?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be J2. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-037, an ordinance granting variance to permit a temporary cargo storage container on the property commonly known as 14753 Clover Lane, Homer Glen, Illinois, or the Jarper Properties LLC, conditioned upon the following. The cargo container must be painted and maintained as tan/beige. The cargo container must not have any visible advertisements. The cargo container must be placed on a concrete slab and comply with all other building codes. The cargo container and the concrete slab will be permitted to remain in the Amberfield subdivision for a period not to exceed 36 months from the adoption of this ordinance. The cargo container can only be used to store construction materials as requested by the petitioner. The cargo container should have sufficient ventilation. The cargo container must have hazardous materials place cards as required by the fire district.
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich,
Second.
second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion?
I have a question, Mayor.
Go right ahead.
I sat in on the Plan Commission, listening in, and they did discuss, are we going to limit or address like propane tanks and gasoline tanks in these cargo facilities? Because I know propane tanks is used in the construction
I
business
would-
during the wintertime.
I would say that falls under hazardous material.
Mayor, the answer to that was there will be some items in the cargo container that have gas in them. They addressed that at the Plan Commission. Obviously, there'll be mowers and some electric equipment that will have that. I think they addressed that. I think they addressed that
They
satisfactorily.
discussed it, but what about
I can't
propane?
remember propane coming up.
I believe you said they were just gas.
Just be gas. I think he did say gas was all he was planning to put in there. So if you have some concerns about propane, you can either add it to the motion or we can address that with them separately too.
If you deal with it separately, I would just have the fire department go out and.
The fire department will be inspecting.
Yes.
They said that at the night of the Plan Commission meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Swayze?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be J3. Is there a motion to grant an extension of the existing special use for the Homer Glen Center, Phase 1 and 2 at 14401 West 143rd Street in Homer Glen, Illinois, for an additional one-year period beginning on August 8, 2014, and continuing through and including August 8th of 2015?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich.
Second.
Second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please.
Mayor, I
Go
just
right
have a
ahead.
quick question. If he's anticipating construction, because this is like the 6th extension, and if he's anticipating construction in October, why are we doing it for a whole year? Why don't we just make it until October?
Well, I would say that as you're moving into the winter months, you can never predict how long that season is. I mean, you know,
For consistency purposes, when the board has granted these extensions, they've all been for a year. We have a list of a number of them. So you certainly could potentially shorten it, but it does make it easier on staff if we stay consistent, since we have in the
Okay.
past. It's up to the
Okay.
board. It's clearly up to the board.
does that answer your question, trustee Suisse?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just
Trustee
one.
Yukich?
Mr. Gatz has said that he plans on having it all set within a year, because it has been 6 years so far.
No, it's a fifth extension.
Fifth extension right now? Okay. But he did say that he was going to have it, something going within this year.
As soon as possible.
Okay.
I mean, I put in more time and effort
And
and
money.
money into this thing, even the the second thing, trying to get something going.
Okay.
I'm open.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Trustee DeVivo?
Just to comment, this is a perfect example of how difficult it is to get water and sewer to some of the locations that we have. And I was really happy when the church came in, and I thought that that's going to be a great partner. We're finally going to get some services in the area, but that didn't happen, so good luck with this. Good luck with this.
Okay, any further discussion?
I just had a comment.
Go ahead.
Mr. Gassis, I was wondering why the second half was started first, or you intend to start that first, and I think you've answered that because that's the smaller building. Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries. Good luck with your building. This would be J4. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-038, an ordinance approving a plat of consolidation and a plat of vacation for easement, lots 14 and 15 in the Windsor Court subdivision, contingent upon the extension of the public sidewalk on lot 15 by the property owner within 1 year of the date of the approval?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich.
Second.
Second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be J5. Is there a motion to authorize the village's first payment to Azavar Audit Solutions in the amount of $12,248.85 as specified in the approved agreement with Azavar Audit Solutions?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo.
I second.
Second by trustee Sweets. Is there any discussion?
I just have a quick comment or question.
Go right ahead.
Is a 3-year program at that percentage, is that the norm? That seems very high.
Right, it was discussed pretty heavily when the board originally approved it back in 2011. So this is one of the few companies in the state that works with municipalities to go and do audits. Not just, they didn't do just an audit of sales tax. They looked at cable, which they're still looking at, our cable agreement with Comcast. They looked at AT&T, they looked at ComEd, they've looked at all the utilities. And what they did find, obviously, in this report is that we had a few businesses in town that were paying sales tax to the county versus the village. So we, quite frankly, it's a very intensive process to figure that out, and they've been working on it for years, which is why we hired them, because we would never have been able to have the staff to do it. That's why municipalities hire these guys to do extensive audits, and they do take a large percentage. Of course, how you look at it is we wouldn't have any of it. We wouldn't know about it if it wasn't for Azavar.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Any further questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye. Excuse me.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be J6. Is there a motion to assign a Class E liquor license, temporary license, to Kono's Corn Maze located at 16849 Cedar Road, Homer Glen, for the Pigskin Classic fundraiser occurring on Saturday, July 26, 2014?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich, second by trustee Sabo. Is there any discussion?
I have one question, Mayor.
Go right ahead.
This is only going to be considered his first special use permit, correct?
That's my understanding.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think it's his second. He
We,
got the credit for the village event, but he had already had one other, so this is his second.
it is a second?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Excuse me, would you explain that again?
He's had 3 events, I think. 3 events? Yeah, so he had a wedding on the site that was one. Oh, an open house, I'm sorry. The wedding was a family event. So this is his second.
Okay, because we waived the villages.
We did.
We
That would have
waived
been
the village,
the
yeah.
third.
That's what I was thinking of, yeah.
Yep.
And when does the next group come up? Because he has September 11th coming up. He's got a few of them coming up, so how does that work?
Well, it's still going back to the Plan Commission for further discussion in the hopes that we can get it all wrapped up before that September 11th. If the Plan Commission needs multiple meetings to discuss it, which they might, because, it's our first kind of shot at the agritourism thing, then he probably will come in and ask for an extension, which I'm sure the mayor and board, as long as the plan commission is moving through the process, I'm sure you'll probably look upon that favorably.
We're trying
And
to
we've explained that to him.
We're trying to move his request from special use permits to a PUD.
Okay.
You know, so that he doesn't
Thank
have
you.
to come in all the time,
Right.
and it's allowable.
Okay.
All right, we have a first and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be J7. Is there a motion to assign a Class E liquor license, temporary license, to Annunciation Byzantine Catholic Church located at 14610 South Wilcook Road, Homer, Glen, for the Prairie Fest occurring on August 8th through the 10th, 2014?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukic.
Second.
Second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be J8. Is there a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a joint agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the village's portion of expenditures related to the 159th Street Improvement Project? It is understood that the total cost to the village is $891,963, which includes costs related to sidewalk and shared use paths, intersection lighting, Bell, South Bell, and Parker Road intersections, the removal and relocation of beacon lighting, traffic signals, and emergency vehicle preemption equipment, and engineering design.
So moved.
First by trustee Sabo.
Second.
Second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion?
Yes, please.
Go right ahead, George.
Looking over the plans for the lighting also goes all the way up to Gauger Road. So on this, it only says Bell Road, South Bell Road, Parker Road intersections, but it does show Gauger, and it shows all the streets that attach to 159th Street. So does Gauger count as part of this?
No, that's outside the village's limits. So
That wouldn't be part of our agreement. That would be part of either the county's agreement with them or the highway department's agreement with them.
Well, aren't we in the process of accessing that, or annexing that property?
Yeah, but we haven't annexed it. It's not in Homer Glen. So
Okay.
it's not that intersection is not our responsibility. I think that's a mixture of the county.
yeah, there was actually street lighting already there, so they're just upgrading and modifying it, so
like
I don't
Gauger?
believe, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't believe it's probably not part of anybody's actual agreement since the lighting is already there.
All right, so we, in essence, we would lose 7, we'd also lose it on Leach Drive. You'd also what about up to Cedar Road? Cedar, we wouldn't be responsible for either then, right?
Right, we're
believe-
just responsible for those 3 intersections that we listed off. So just South Bell, as I call it, South Bell and Parker.
Okay.
Okay.
Because the board made the decision not to do any lighting with, and Orland did too, not to do any lighting at Wilcook.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Go right ahead, just step up.
I just, you know, the lighting is a major part of the expense of the amount of $891,963. And it amounts to over half. It is a great concern that there are, according to Mike Salamovich, only about 11 lights at some of their street lights. Some may be at intersections, or some may be just at a road from a subdivision that meets 159th Street. But I am not saying there should not be lighting. I want to get that very clear. But the amount of lighting that IDOT put in, I don't know if the board was aware of the extent of that. They had said that they would put in approach lighting, and that means approach lighting going east and west on whatever it might be, the Parker, that's north and south, and then of course east and west is 159th Street. So there's going to be an extensive amount of lighting. In fact, overlighting doesn't mean that it's safe. Overlighting can cause other problems. And also, it's a major expense for Homer Glen. It's a major expense for installation, purchase, maintenance, and then, of course, ongoing electric costs. I don't know if I have the right number, but for example, at Parker, there could be about 22 or 23 lights. That's lights on Cedar, lights on Parker, both sides, and then lights on 159th Street, which means approach lighting before you get to the intersection. And then between Bell and Bell Road, there's a short distance, and there is there's about 22 lights, and again, I'm not accurate as to the positive as to the exact number, but that's approximate. And then South Bell 15. So between the South Bell and Bell Road, 37 lights. That is enormous. And and then on top of it, the light that comes from the traffic signals themselves, which will be newer, brighter. I would like the board to rethink this amount of lighting. This is going to be like a major landing strip in Homer Glen.
So, to interrupt you, go ahead.
And the new lighting, and I've combined Parker and Bell and South Bell, is $517,000, $517,500. I mean, this is a major expense, and I'd like to see that the board rethink this and try to get IDOT to reduce the amount of lights. In a community that is concerned about energy efficiency, this goes against it.
This is, as I recall the conversation, IDOT stated that they would install the minimum amount of lighting that they had to have to their standards. This is the minimum lighting for their standards. That's about all I can tell you.
Well, the minimum amount of lighting is the maximum amount of lighting for Homer Glen, and it's really out of character for Homer Glen. It's a major change, and on 143rd, they're putting in lights at where there's an intersection or where there's a street that comes in there. But this is almost continuous roadway lighting. We're just out of whack here with this.
Okay, well,
I would like the board to rethink this and see if IDOT can reduce some of this lighting. We're going to be brighter than Orland Park or other communities.
well, all I can reiterate, no, public comments over with Bob. All I can say is that when we asked them to take into consideration that we're a dark skies community and that we don't like to overemphasize, having to light it up more than it's needed. They guaranteed us they would do the minimum they do to reach their standards. And if this is the minimum they're going to do to reach their standards, they're going out for bid September 14th. They're just going to do it. So
we did not see this. I don't know when this plan came in.
Last week.
I don't know when this plan came in, but we didn't see it. I would like to have discussed it.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, we just received the IDOT, the 159th Street final engineering plans on Friday.
Why don't you do this? Contact them, and say what I just said. Is this the minimum amount according to your standards that we have to have to meet your standards?
Mayor, they've assured us that it is, but we can ask them again. If you
Yeah,
want us to ask
this
them again, we'll
this
ask
here
them again.
is just a contract for dollars that represents what we've already voted on. This is just their contract saying this is going to be your proportionate share. If you can get them to reduce some lighting, more power to you. I don't think that's going to happen.
Mayor, one of the things that at the meeting that we had, the special meeting that we had here in this room with them, and they talked about the approach lighting. You know, they said that there would be, their anticipation on the minimum lighting would be 2 to 3 lights, and that's what they've delivered. There's 2 to 3 lights depending on if you're going east or west. When you're approaching, it's 3, when you're leaving, it's 2. And so they actually have delivered on what they said to us at that meeting. They told us flat out that would be their minimum lighting at the intersections. There is not a continuous flow of lighting. There's intersection lighting. If you go to Orland Park on the Grange Road, which I invite everybody to go look tomorrow, there is a continuous flow of lighting. There's a light every couple hundred feet, there's a light now. So this is not continuous lighting. This is intersection to intersection to intersection.
I would like to comment on
But
that.
but they did, at that meeting, they told us that there would probably be 2 or 3 approaching, 2 or 3 leaving, and that's what they've delivered.
Okay, and trustee Sabo, you wanted to say something?
Well, there is continuous roadway lighting between Bell and South Bell. I
But
don't
they
think.
told us there would be at the meeting.
Yes, but, you know, as
As a
far.
short distance, they said that they would probably match together because it's such a short distance.
Yes, that is true. I heard them say that. I also don't think that they considered whether we're a dark sky community or not. They have their standards. And I wish that when this plan came in, which it's not, I'm not talking about what we're voting on. I'm talking about the lighting plan because it came in with the landscape plan, which was some time ago. I wish at that time it was brought to the board so that we could discuss it, so there could be more time. So there could be more time to try to work with IDOT. I would like to see an attempt here. I mean, the Environment Committee is very concerned about all of this lighting. I think the residents will be too when they see it. This is not Homer Glen's image. And this does not mean all this lighting is necessary. It just means that's what IDOT wants to do, and I think we should work harder to get IDOT to reduce some of this lighting. This cannot be minimum lighting.
I don't agree with you. The fact is that they are working off of minimum standards, okay? This is as far as they can go within their standards for safety. And it's their road, and, you know, if some lights could be worked out of the project, that's fine. But this is a contract for what we've committed to, and they're going out for bid September 14th. So whether you want to talk to them or you don't want to talk to them, that's sort of irrelevant from this contract.
Well, that really is a shame. I believe the board should have rethought this. I think that they should understand what this plan means. I do not think the residents will like it, and it's going to be an egregious amount of lighting that isn't necessary. Safety is an issue, but overkill is not what we should be seeing here.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
I have a quick comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, when we requested minimum lighting, we didn't realize in that it's about a 4-mile stretch between Gauger and Bell, there will be about 94, 95 streetlights. And I do not, at South Bell alone, in 159th, there are 15. And if that road is, that street, that's so close to Bell, I don't know why, if we didn't include Will Cook Road, so I don't know why we can't delete South Bell Road. Because you're gonna have enough lighting coming off of Bell anyways. I don't think you need to put 15 streetlights on South Bell.
All I can go back to saying
Well, and
one
then
more
you
one
handle
more
it like
time
Will Cook.
is they have their experts that say, in order to fulfill our standards, this is the type of lighting we need, and this is what they're gonna do.
But the experts also said if you, like we did at Will Cook Road, we said no. Why can't you do, no, just the street lights at South Bell? Because you're gonna have enough lighting from the approach lighting from Bell coming and going anyway. You don't need to put another 15 lights right there, which is only a few blocks away.
I believe that the answer to that was that you're leaving one county and you're entering another county. One side's Will County, the other side's Cook County. Orland Park didn't want to put up money. They don't put one side in without the other side.
Right.
And that's why it's not going in.
Well, we have our choice to either use the
Sharon,
lighting
if you would
there.
like to sit down and do a letter writing campaign, and you want to, do whatever you want to do, trying to
Okay.
get a hold of IDOT, that's your business. But they're bid letting this job, and they are at their minimum standards, and if you can get them to lower their minimum standards, fantastic. Go for it. Okay, now is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
I'm going to say no, I'm going to say no because of the lighting, but I did have a question. I'm sorry, it had pertained to maintenance or responsibility of Homer Glen. I wonder if I could ask that question.
Sure. Okay, that would be a question for Mike.
There's it says that, I know this is IDOT's road, we're paying a lot for this IDOT's road, but there is a section 17, I'd like to ask Mike about that. It says that upon field inspection and improvements, the village agrees to maintain or cause to be maintained those portions of the improvement which are not maintained by the state, including shared paths, sidewalks, medium and parkways, landscaping, guardrails, crosswalks, stop line markings, and the removal and relocation of beacon light, village-owned utilities, including appurtenances, I can't pronounce that word, appurtenances pertain to highway lighting, intersection lighting, including furnishing the electricity, therefore, and shall maintain this. This is the part that I'm questioning. And shall maintain the storm sewers, and cleaning sewer lines, inlets, manholes, catch basins, and along with the repair of replacement of inlet manholes, catch basins, frames, or lids. So this is going to be our responsibility.
Well, typically where you have subdivisions or any municipal systems that are adjacent to the right-of-way, to IDOT's right-of-way, and since they're expanding their right-of-way, sometimes it's incorporating those utilities now into their right-of-way. Yes, the village would be responsible for those.
It's standard language for an IDOT project.
So that's a lot of extra work.
Well, that would be the same systems that we would always be responsible for. Actually, we don't have any, really, the village of Homer Glen actually doesn't have any storm sewers, sanitary sewers, or water mains at this point in IDOT's right-of-way, so we wouldn't be responsible for anything additional.
Okay, does that answer your question, Trustee Sabo?
Yes.
I have a
Okay.
suggestion.
Go right ahead.
Seeing you had asked Mike to call downstate to see if they can do anything else, how about if we put this off until the next meeting? This way we have the full, we got Ted back, we got Mike back.
I just tell you that we have asked them if this is the minimum lighting, and they have said yes. If we ask them again, we'll just be repeating that question already, which I'm happy to do. But I just want you to let you know, we're gonna be asking them the second time, and they will say yes back. They promised us that they would do the minimum, that they would do 2 or 3 up, 2 or 3 down, and that's what they've delivered. And that's one of the reasons, because the board already approved the lighting with that understanding that IDOT gave us, one of the reasons why staff did not think this was a big change, because IDOT actually lived up to what they said they would do at that meeting. So if it had come in and there were 7 lights on the way up and 10 lights on the way out, then of course Mike and I would have said, whoa, this is way different than IDOT promised us at that public meeting. In reality, this is exactly what they promised us. So that's the only reason I mentioned it, Trustee Yukich, is that we can certainly ask them again, but I will let you know it's a repeat ask. And I think we'll certainly get the same answer back, in my opinion, so.
Well, isn't there more than 3 lights up and 3 lights down?
There's 4 and 3.
More than.
There's 4 and 3, but that is what they said.
Yeah.
I still would like it if we could.
Well, that was the approach lighting, and then they're separate, the intersection lighting is separate. What I'm talking about is the approach lighting leading into the intersection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, does that answer your question, George?
Well, yeah, that answers my question. That is what they said, but never hurts to ask again. It's something that we cannot reverse once we do it.
So
I would say, give it the opportunity. We're missing 2 board members tonight, and I think they would like to have their input on this thing too.
Well, then, what you're asking for is you're asking to table
Table this till the next meeting.
J8 till the next meeting. In the meantime, you can once again ask them, is this the bare minimum that we have to deal with, okay?
You've got a motion pending and it's in the middle of a vote. So
Okay. Hold on, go ahead.
it would be unusual, but someone should make a motion to table this right now.
I make a motion to table it.
Okay,
Is there a second?
I second.
take a roll call vote.
There is no discussion on the table. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is tabled. That's J8. Mike, send a letter off to him tomorrow saying we'd like to move forward, but is there a way we can have less lighting? Okay? All right. This would be J9. Is there a motion to direct Mayor Daley to sign Will County School District's 92's facility use application for the Homer Harvest Days Festival on September 6th through the 7th, 2014?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukic,
Second.
second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Okay, that concludes legislative and active action items for tonight. The next portion of this meeting is a workshop item. At the last village board meeting 2 weeks ago, Village Manager Davis handed out to the village board a draft professional services and fee proposal for Williams Architects. Manager Davis asked the board to forward any questions or concerns about the draft to him. My understanding is that no questions or concerns have been forwarded by the board. Manager Davis mentioned at the last board meeting that a representative of Williams Architects would be here this evening. Tonight, Mark Bushhouse, President of Williams Architects, is here to answer any final questions the board may have about the draft professional services and fee proposal. I would open it up for any questions from Mark. You want to stand up there? Mark, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions for Mark?
When do you plan on starting getting everything
Going.
all rolling?
When you approve us,
Okay.
and we'll start.
Alright.
The plan is to have the, what I handed out the last time is a summary document that kind of gives him direction, and then there are standard boilerplate agreements for architects that will be on your next agenda. And there are a couple things that, Mayor, if we could, there are a couple things that we just want to get feedback from the board on. I did tell Mark that we're going to utilize what we're calling the staff committee to help give guidance, and that there may be one or two village board members that may sit in on every meeting or occasionally those meetings. Certainly, we'll let everybody know when that happens, and that'll be the main committee that gives Mark and his colleagues the ongoing feedback that they require as we move through the project. So he's familiar with that, and we don't think that's going to be a problem. There are a couple things, though, that I mentioned 2 weeks ago, and then Mark and I just want to get some definitive feedback from the board on tonight. And when they gave us the proposal, Mark very professionally gave us a multitude of options of things that we could do. These are services that go above and beyond the typical architectural services that are provided. As an example, design consultation. Mark, that's probably a good one too. The planning phase?
Right, exactly. And so there's a couple things like that staff, if you recall from my presentation last week, I recommended that we do, okay? There's an estimating component to this project because we're very cost conscious. I think it would be money very well spent to go to the full extent of the services that they provide for estimating. And so that would be another separate charge. I have been involved in projects that did estimating and projects that didn't, and when I was involved in projects that didn't, I always wished I had. So it's kind of like a lesson learned in my career. So a couple of these things I'd like Mark to just talk about, okay, these additive services, and I think the board would give you some good feedback on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Be glad to do that.
Well, the one you already just mentioned is a cost estimating services. So we would go in and do some estimating at the end of schematic design, and then we can do some detailed estimating at the end of design development when we have more drawings that are there. We have outline specifications. We picked all the fixtures, so we can do a very good estimate then. Then we update it during construction documents, which is our last phase of drawing, just to verify that we're staying on budget.
Mark, why don't you tell them a little bit about what that means, the estimating, the information that comes back that,
Sure.
that would, of course, be shared with the board.
What that means is we're going to look through all the work that's being designed, and we will estimate all the costs to build this work, including general contractor fees. We'll also put in costs for any furniture, other equipment, and specialty items that the project would require, so we can give you a full overall project budget. Then as we get into, like I said, these next phases, that we have more detailed drawings, then we do more detailed estimating, and now you can see what we're spending on, you know, plumbing and electrical and heating systems. So as we would discuss the various upgrades or changes we might want to consider for the heating and cooling system, we can explain to you what those costs are expected to be, so you'll know how you're spending your money and how we're doing on budget.
It's a continual estimation so that the board will always feel like you know exactly where the project is going financially, okay? So there's no, it helps with no big surprises in the beginning, middle, or end. And so that's one of the things that I recommended last week, and I didn't hear any negative comments back about that, so I'm hoping that that's still on the table, because that will be in the final document that comes back. Also, there's, you know, additive services like interior design. We, you know, certainly could use Williams for all of the standard basic architectural services and use somebody else for interior design if we do. Sometimes that occasionally happens. I'm sure you guys have consulted on interior design stuff where you haven't done the base stuff. But we feel so confident after touring the facility staff, the staff committee, various members of the staff have toured buildings that they've done. And of course, you had the opportunity to meet their interior designer during the interview phase. We feel so confident that we want to utilize them for those services, and that's an additive cost. Why don't you talk a little bit about what she would be doing?
Right.
What she would be doing.
What she does is she comes and meets with the committee and discusses the basic materials that are going to be used throughout the building, discusses basic color directions that would be appropriate for Homer Glen. And based on that, she goes out with her staff and they produce groups of colors for various materials that could be used on a project like that: carpet, paints, vinyl wall coverings, casework. Puts that together in a group of color options and comes back and presents to that committee various color groups. And then that group the team can look at these groups of colors, debate back and forth which color groups would best fit this facility and Homer Glen. And we pick one basic direction for colors. They then go through and refine that based on the conversations and carpets and colors that are available. And of course, budget's always an important part of that conversation. And they refine it down till we have, you know, every paint in every room and every carpet and every sort of pattern that might go in the ceramic tiles in the bathrooms and so forth. And then that's all put on, you know, on display boards, and the team can again look those all over and approve that they understand how all the colors will work and what those materials are. And by having this done by our in-house people, they can coordinate directly with the architects that are designing the building so that all the look of the building is complementary and continuous inside and out, so the whole facility feels homogeneous in its approach.
So those were a couple examples of the additive items that were in the back of my presentation that you got a couple weeks ago. My philosophy on this is always, you know, if you have the faith to hire an architectural firm, hire them for the full extent of their services. Why would we hire Williams after they've done these beautiful buildings and they impressed us with the interviews, and then turn to someone else for interior design consultation, or to help us with furniture, or to handle all the low voltage wiring issues in the building? Why in the world would we go out with separate contracts when we can keep it all with them? So
I agree with you with that.
Yeah. So that's just based on some years of experience with projects. Especially when we have a pretty small staff, it's easier to work with one company, hold this company accountable.
Get it.
Mark has now been here, 2 or 3 times in front of the board. He'll be here some more. He's the guy that we're holding accountable for this project versus lining up a group of 4 or 5 different companies. So that was my recommendation, and unless I hear different feedback from the board, that's what you'll see in a couple weeks in the.
I
final
agree with that,
proposal.
because when you get too many people involved in this, one guy's supposed to be doing something at a certain time, and he blames it on the other guy that says he wasn't done with what he was supposed to do, so I can't get to what I was supposed to do. If you have one person in charge of the job, it usually lends to a little more coordinated effort, so.
The one thing that we have not finished negotiating still is that there will be a 1.1 multiplier for additive services, and we're still negotiating that. That multiplier might stay the same, but there might be a lower threshold amount. Mark and I are going to continue to discuss that. That's something that I want to try to get a little bit lower. Hopefully we can do that. But the goal, so that we can get going, because I know everyone is very anxious to move forward, is to have this final agreement back to you for your next village board meeting. And it will resemble, what was sent out 2 weeks ago, for the most part, with the various additive items that I recommended, including design and the other items that I mentioned tonight. So,
Is everybody in pretty much agreement with that?
what I said to Mark before, and I wanted Mark to be able to say it here to you tonight too, and I'm not going to put too many words in his mouth, but the board has communicated how you want to be involved in this project. This is only the second time we've remodeled a facility. It's the first time we've remodeled one that we actually own. So, Mark, I know that, we've talked about it. You're certainly very supportive of involving
Absolutely.
the board, and just want to kind of
Okay.
alleviate any fears that you might have that you'll be excluded from the decision-making process. So.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mark?
Just a couple.
Go ahead.
Approximate timeline once you get the okay from us to get the plan set.
Well, it's a piece-by-piece process. We first do this planning phase where we figure out the basics, size, cost, changes, bring that to you, we'll review it, and you will tell us that's good, or you'll ask us to make changes. Once that first planning phase is approved, we think that process, working with staff, should take us 4 to 5 weeks. We'll come to you, you approve, you tell us. Then we go and do our 3 design phases, schematic, which has another time we come back to the board, because that has a lot of decisions to be made about, the final layout and some look and architecture. So we want to be sure that you're fully supportive of design recommendations that we're making with your staff. And of course, the budget's updated. And once you approve that, our hope is to then move as expeditiously as possible through design development, which is more detailed, but that's more staff involvement to, execute the design you've approved, update the budget, make sure we're on track. That's about 6 weeks for design development plus a budget. And then when that's approved, we go to construction documents. That's like 8 weeks. And then, as we talked about in our interview, we really fight hard to keep 2 weeks of quality control time in our schedule, so we can really review the documents and do all the things that Mr. Davis was talking about, all these different consultants, keep that all put together. So we still would expect to go out to bid either end of this year or the very beginning of next year, and get this project out to bid, and then get construction done next year.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. Afterwards, once you get everything set and you're going to put the bids out,
Yes.
approximate time does that take for bidding?
Bidding? Typically, a project of this scale, we would recommend 3 weeks of actual bidding time, and then there's usually 3 weeks to review bids, make recommendations to the board, work with staff to get the contracts executed. So it's usually 6 weeks to get the bidding and contracts done.
And then there's no way to tell how long it would take to build, because we don't know what we're doing yet.
You don't know what you're doing yet.
Okay. The only question I have for you, Cameron, is when is the next meeting?
For Village Board, we are, this contract will be on your meeting agenda for the 12th.
All right, no. For, when's your next meeting with staff?
Oh, the staff committee meeting? We might have a meeting next week. We haven't met for a little while. People have been out looking at facilities, or it might be the week after, but everybody's being kept apprised of where we're going. We had so many meetings today, we probably met like 6, 7, 8 times. So we've been meeting, we met for months.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the next one, if you could please let me know when it is.
Oh, yeah, we're always, I know the mayor wants to know, because the mayor says he probably wants to attend, so we will always put it in my weekly report to everyone, letting you know when we're gonna have our next meeting.
Do me a favor, email me or
Okay.
text me.
All right, very good. I'm
Thank
happy to do that.
Okay, are there any other questions? Go ahead, trustee Sabo.
I'm just looking at the costs on page 5 and 6, and for all the extras that has been mentioned here. And then there's something on page 4. I am concerned about the costs. As far as, for example, there's number 3 on page 5, additional services. We're talking about $3,500 here for square foot based cost estimating. Then we have $47,000 for design development detail cost estimate, lump sum $7,500. Update to the estimate of 75% construction documents, $4,500. And we go on, and then we can go on to B, lump sum of $19,000 for interior selection of interior materials, finishes, colors, and patterns. C, furniture design, layout, bidding, installation, administration, a lump sum of $22,000. And then access control, duress alarm, AV, computer wiring, lump sum of $20,000. I mean, all this is just adding up. I don't know if these prices are the best prices. I'm not saying I'm just saying that I'm very concerned about the escalating costs and what it's going to be before we even get to that.
It's really not escalating. These numbers are in line with what I budgeted. So these are not out of ordinary charges for what I budgeted. And if we didn't do them with Williams, we'd have to hire another firm to do it. I mean, I don't have interior designers on staff. We'd have to hire a separate firm to handle electrical stuff. We'd be working with multiple firms, coordinating them with them. I mean, that's why I spent the time I did, a couple of minutes ago explaining that this is not a large organization. I can't be managing this project. I need Williams to be held accountable for the many facets of things that we have to do. We don't have an interior designer. We don't have people that have experience with working with furniture and making sure we get the right furniture and that it's working with the companies to get it set up and all this stuff. We are barely getting by on a daily basis with the responsibilities we have. I have no staff member with the expertise to do these things. So either we hire Williams to do them or we have to hire other firms to do them and then try to coordinate it all together, which in my experience, which is why you hired me, to give you my experience of projects I've had in the past, is a potential disaster. Okay, in this instance, we have Williams that is being held responsible for all the facets of the project, and if something goes wrong, it's Mark, okay, versus some separate firm that handles design that then has to work in with his architectural plans. It just becomes very, very challenging to sublet all these projects out. So I actually do not see anything in this proposal financially that, based on my experience with past projects, that disturbs me at all. And that's why I budgeted what I budgeted, because I kind of knew what the cost would be. So this is not out of ordinary based on what was budgeted in the budget.
I'm just concerned about the cost. Going into this, we did not know. And, I mean, you can budget and so forth, but.
Well, we did know. The firms, every firm that was interviewed said that it would be somewhere between $100 to $150 a square foot. And that's what these numbers represent.
Right, all the firms that gave proposals were pretty specific about the additive services. Design was additive, all these things were additive. They were not included in the base fees, so they're in the proposal documents that we have.
I'm not talking about when the bidding came in. I'm talking about beforehand. We did not know all of the costs that would be related to this building. That's my point. And then the other is that there's a lot of, and the comment was made last time, there's a lot of meetings with staff, and that's important. don't say that's not important, but I do agree with trustee Costa in saying there's not enough trustee input. And so that it would be a good idea if we had, if we did have posted meetings, so that more than 2 trustees could be there. And if it's just limited to when, without posting, who knows which trustees will be there, I just encourage more trustee input, and that's one way to do it, by having a posted meeting, and it's possible to do that.
Okay, the direction I got at the last board meeting from the village board that was all here was that I was to let the board know when the staff committee was meeting and make it available for 2 of you to attend. That's the direction I got at the last meeting. That is separate from the contract. Mark is perfectly happy to accommodate whatever we ask. It's not a part of the contract, you know. It's not a part of the contract whether there's board members present or not present. That's kind of an issue for us to deal with. So that doesn't affect the agreement that's coming in a couple weeks. But if when the whole board is here at your next meeting, maybe if you want to revisit the issue that you gave me direction on at the last meeting, then, you know, I encourage you to do that. The trouble with that is that, you know, Mark is going, this project, as they go through, they're going to need us to be very timely. And, you know, Mark, do you want to talk to what would we like to have open public meetings for all of these decision-making processes with the...
I have one example, a community where the board decided they would be the design committee, and we worked with them diligently, meeting every other week for months on the design. When we completed the design, they said, we don't like it. And we said, we don't like it either. They said, what do we have to do? I said, you have to relieve yourself of being the design committee, put your staff back in charge, and then we've heard a lot of your comments, we've heard a lot of your goals and your staff, and we are well equipped to follow through on that, and we will come back to you in half that time, and we'll have a design, and we're confident you will like it much better. They thankfully took our advice. They took themselves out as the design committee. We came back 3 months later, and they were very pleased with the results and felt we had listened to them carefully and had met their goals. So that's a caution from an architect to a board about approaches to setting. I encourage boards to set goals and tell us what your preferences are, and trust that your staff and your design professionals will listen to you carefully and will follow your goals and will come back with designs that will meet your approval.
Okay.
I'm just asking that more than 2 board members be present if they want to be. If you limit it to just 2, it leaves people out. It has nothing to do with
Go ahead
what
and just
you had
post.
said before. Posting a meeting is, you do it in 48 hours. What's wrong with that?
Well, again, the board made a decision at the last meeting. Maybe at your next meeting, you can revisit with the whole village board here, and if that's the direction, that's what we'll do. You know, if we post the meetings, we have to take detailed minutes like we do village board meetings then. And I assume, Mary, you're going to be at everyone to chair them. I don't know how that's going to work, because they're going to be village board meetings. So those of you who can't attend will be missing a lot of meetings. Those are actual village board meetings. So I just want you to maybe mull it over, think it over, and we can revisit it in a couple weeks. But like I said, it doesn't really pertain to the document itself. Mark doesn't care if there's one board member at the meeting or 2 or 3. That's our side issue. So.
Okay, well, how about we discuss it at the next meeting when all the trustees are here?
I just have one more question.
Go ahead.
You said this is the first time you're doing basically a build-out.
No.
Cameron, didn't you just say that this is the first time the building's already up?
No, I said us.
Oh, this is the first
The
time
village
we're
doing a build-out of a building that we own.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness, no, they've done
'cause
many
the
projects.
building's already up, so I'm kind of thinking $150 a square foot's kind of up there.
We just bid out a project in Willowbrook, 10,000 square feet, $1.4 million.
And they had
They had the building, we remodeled it. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they were all the firms were consistent within 10,000, I think.
Well, but that's
or
most of
within
the time
10,
that's
yeah.
building a building. So, all right, that's fine.
Okay, are there any other questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark, and we'll be talking at the next
Great.
meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our workshop for tonight. I believe under old business, trustee Yukich wanted to bring something up about Mr. Ludwig.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Ludwig, could you do me a favor, and just step up to the podium?
Jim, if you could give us your name and address for the record.
Jim Ludwig, 16060 Wildwood Lane, Homer Glen.
Okay, I have a few questions, because before we do this, I want to make sure that you're on board with what we would like to do. The golf course you are running this year.
Correct.
All right, and at the end of the year, it's supposed to end.
Correct.
All right, and you had discussed with me that you did want the second year.
If you requested it, I said I would do it.
Correct. What we're trying to look at right now is, we have something that we really can't do anything to the property. That's why I was asking the architect on a timeline. And if they're not done with the plans until January or February, and then it takes 6 weeks to put the things out to bid, that makes it almost March, April. And by the time they build it, you gotta give it at least 6 months. Some of the people that came before us said anywhere from 8 months to a year and a half. I can't remember, I think it was White said it would be up to a year and a half. So the building wouldn't be basically done until the end of 2015 or the beginning of 2016. With that being said, and the problem that we had a week ago with the flooding in Homer Glen from the rain, and I had a lot of calls from the people that live around Woodbine. That was the biggest amount, and everyone was sending me pictures. What we want to do is, we still want to hire an engineer, or we want to hire an environmental assessment company to be able to see how we can end the flooding that's going on there, and bringing it into Woodbine, and if there's something we could change inside there. With that being said, we shouldn't be doing anything to the property until it's evaluated. With that being said, we would rather have, well, some of us would rather have the golf course stay open for another year and be able to utilize you to maintain it. You'd have to pay the property taxes that would be on the land. And it keeps 55 people employed. We get sales tax. We're still getting something out of it. We don't have to pay to have the park maintained. And it gives the engineers or the environmental company to at least go out there and make an assessment of the property, so we can get all our ducks in a row and then figure out how we're going to pay for this. This way we can accommodate whoever wants to go inside there, and then get it built up. Because if we turn it over to the sports groups right now, you're pretty much done with the golf course, because you can't work it if you've got kids playing all over the fields. So what I wanted to know, and this way we could put it on the agenda for, the first agenda for August, if you're willing and able, are you up to it?
At this stage of the game, we are, but we have been destroying the business, literally, for the last several months. And if we reach a point here very shortly where our customers just vacate and go away, and it becomes less and less possible for us to, maintain the situation, we need an answer. Okay. Yes or no. It doesn't really matter, but we need an answer, because we're either going to stop the bleeding now and retain what we have for a while longer, or not. We can't wait until September or October and say, oh, by the way, folks, we're still going to be here. And they're going to say, by the way, folks, we already booked our stuff elsewhere. We're not coming back.
Okay, so if we could get it on the agenda for next week, or for 2 weeks from now, that would give you enough time to be able to...
Barely. It just can't go on beyond that. It really can't.
Okay, so then what I would like to do, Mayor, is bring this before the board in 2 weeks, so we can talk about it, figure out the best way to do it, because...
That was the intention, George.
Okay, all right.
That's our intention.
All right.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, is there any other old business? Is there any new business? Okay, then the next item is land acquisition. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing land acquisition?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich.
Second.
Second by trustee Swees. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. We're going to go into executive session. We'll be back after that. Okay, is there a motion to close executive session?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich,
I second.
second by trustee Sweez. Where's Mark at? Mark, do you have to say anything about reporting for executive session? Okay, nothing was actually decided besides the attorney was gonna work with the bank on a certain parcel. Seeing no further business, is there a motion to adjourn? First by trustee Sabo,
I second.
second by trustee Sweez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.